Firstly, welcome to my home. You are now stood in the outer ward of the Tower of London, between the inner and outer defensive wall. The inner wall is 50 feet high, the outer wall behind you is 28 feet thick. The road to your left is called Mid Street, because until 1810, all the coins of the realm were designed and produced in these buildings. Now, the buildings that house the mint are known as the casemates or housed within the walls, and now some of them serve as accommodation for some of my fellow Yeoman Water colleagues, their wives, their girlfriends, their unwanted children, and their dogs and their cats. To your right is a tall, dark, narrow archway known as a sallyport or royal entrance, beyond which is a small drawbridge leading out to the Queen's Stairs and directly down to the River Thames. Now, rather than travel through the narrow packed streets of London, royalty and nobility would travel in their luxurious barges down that river, tie up by those stairs to enter the tower. Those gates are original and date back over 750 years old. It was exactly beneath that archway that King Henry VIII got down on one knee and so lovingly greeted his second wife, Queen Anne Boleyn, mother of Queen Elizabeth I. Poor Anne was fated to return to the tower 3 years later, for a very different reason and for a very different gate. In front of you is the bell tower, so named because of the small white belfry at the top. It contains the oldest surviving curfew and alarm bell in the city of London. When sounded an alarm would signal for all the gates to be closed, the drop gates lowered, the drawbridges raised, and all the battlements manned in defence. As you can see, the arch on top of the Beecham Tower. Now, the bell tower is the strongest of the 13 towers within the inner wall. Now, due to its form of construction, prisoners were held in both of these chambers. The man for all seasons, Sir Thomas More, one-time Lord Chancellor of England, was held in the lower chamber for refusing to accept King Henry VIII as head of the Church of England. At the same time and for the same reason, John Fisher, the Bishop of Rochester, was held in the upper chamber, also known as the strong room. Both men were to suffer terribly, but neither would be persuaded to abandon their beliefs. And in 1535, both men were taken from this tower up to Tower Hill for public execution. 400 years later, in 1935, both men were canonized as saints of the Roman Catholic faith. Don't worry, we're getting to the bloody gory bits. Another famous prisoner to be held in the strong room was a young Princess Elizabeth Tudor. Her half-sister Queen Mary Tudor had reason to believe Elizabeth was implicated in the Sir Thomas Aquinas rebellion, which was against the Queen's plans to marry King Philip II of Spain. Fortunately, she was proven innocent, although banished to Woodstock for a time. It would be 4 years until she returned to the Tower of London for her very own coronation, and the last time she'd visit in her long reign of nearly 45 years. Right, now for some bloody war. James Scott, the Duke of Monmouth, eldest of the 13 illegitimate children of King Charles II. He was a busy man. He was also imprisoned in this tower. Now, after the death of his father in 1685, this handsome, portly young man, very much like myself, was persuaded to stake his claim to the throne. To press home his claim, he landed in the West Country of England, marching inland, gaining popular Protestant support in what's to become known as the Monmouth Rebellion. Well, the revolt was crushed at the Battle of Sedgemoor on the 6th of July, 1685. But the Duke escaped the battlefield and evaded capture for a week, until he was found hiding, cowering in a ditch. 3 days later, there was no need for a trial, and he was taken from this tower up to Tower Hill for public execution. This, ladies and gentlemen, was to be the bloodiest execution in English history. executioner went by the name of Jack Ketch. It is recorded he was 6'8" tall, 19 and a half stone. He was a giant of a man. He was a part-time executioner. He was a part-time butcher. But ladies and gentlemen, he was a full-time alcoholic, as most of them were. And on day of said execution, nothing had changed. Because in a drunken stupor, it took Jack Ketch 5 strokes of the axe. The first struck the Duke on the top of his left shoulder. The second stroke came down, skimming the top of his head. As the Duke knelt there, squealing in agony, one of the clergy pointed to Jack Ketch and stated, "Jack Ketch, if you do not complete this task, you, sir, will be next." Jack Ketch, starting to sweat profusely, realizing his life was in imminent danger, continued with the execution. 3 strokes later, he still had to sever the head from the body. In a fit of rage, ladies and gentlemen, he pulled out his butcher's carving knife, grabbed the Duke by the hair, tilted it back at a 45-degree angle, and started to cut away through the bone and sinew until the head was off. Everyone feel all right? Kids, okay? Good, young man, just smiling with you. Like that. Hands up.
All you do is
Catch.